Welcome to You the People. In this program, we will provide you with interviews and information from and about the people who affect your lives. Our program may include conversations with candidates, elected or appointed officials, town department heads, and more. We will delve into the kitchen table issues that make a difference in our towns and region. I'm your host, Julie Thompson. Let's get started. Today, I'm so pleased to welcome Patrick O'Connor, who is the state senator for the 1st Plymouth and Norfolk District. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I look forward to a conversation today.
Thank you for being here. Your constituents, I'm sure, are dying to hear from you. I have a question. You were up for election in November and no candidates sought to run against you. An interesting little fact that I'd love to discuss is that there's 40 seats in the Massachusetts Senate. 27 are unopposed races, and of the 27, 25 are incumbents. This means only 13 of the 40 seats have 2 people running. Is this unusual? Is this a pattern? Is this because you guys do such a great job that no one's going to run against you? Or is it because people aren't involved?
It's definitely a pattern. This is the first time that we've ever been unopposed. I was able to have the privilege of being the state senator in May of 2016, and in that election we ran a primary in April of 2016, a general in May of 2016, another primary in September, and another general in November of 2016. So we're very accustomed to being challenged. This was actually a surprise to us to not have a competition for the Senate seat this time around. But we've had 3 primary challenges. We've had challenges in the general election every single time in the special election. So for us, this is unusual. But for the legislature as a whole, you typically see a lot of incumbents go unopposed. Some of it comes down to the makeup of the seat. Okay. Massachusetts is very blue, so in a lot of these different districts that you have, it would be a competitive primary that could be the only way that somebody would be taken out. The numbers are just so skewed as far as voter registration with Democrats that a Republican would have no shot at winning some of these districts. Mm-hmm. In the South Shore, we're lucky. We have a very purple district where we have a lot of independents and a good amount of Republicans, and the majority as far as affiliated folks are Democrats. But you get that, and I think that a lot of this comes down to sort of the climate in government right now and in politics. I mean, it's crazy. So frequently you see people go off on social media or would call the office or do stuff where they're just so angry with the way in which that government is, and everything's so loud.
Right. How do you navigate that? How do you tone down that temperature?
I try and have a very open mind towards everything and listen to people's points of view, and know that if they've gotten to the point that they want to call or reach out to their state senator, that a lot of circumstances they felt that they had no place left to turn to really voice their opinion. And so we hear everyone out. We try and put a lot of background and context to some of the concerns that they have, because some of them was just something that they saw on social media. Mm-hmm. They're contacting our office, and there's a lot of misinformation that's going around in that regard. Right. And so we try and provide people with the clear facts of what's being voted on, what's being done on Beacon Hill, and try to really provide some people peace of mind when it comes to the legislative process, because Massachusetts is a lot different. We obviously have our concerns and our challenges, but in generally we're a state where Republicans and Democrats work together. We try and be pragmatic and honest about the way in which we approach government, and very transparent, and that's the approach that I think really provides people the comfort level that they need to know that we're going in there and trying to do the right things.
Right. You have a very measured approach.
We try to.
Yeah, you do. And even anyone who talks to you, you're not inflamed. You're always kind of steady and measured in how you answer and respond. Not that you're not passionate about things, but I think people like to see that.
And I appreciate that.
How does that translate into the fact that so few people actually vote? How do we get more people to vote?
On the South Shore, we do pretty well. We have a very educated electorate down here, and we're typically in the top 3 when it comes to Senate districts out of the 40 Senate districts. But there are areas of Massachusetts that do have a very low voter participation rate, and I think that that's sad. I mean, this is something that has been given to us through a lot of bloodshed, to be able to make our to go into the ballot box and make our opinion known on certain issues, whether they be ballot questions, or to put the person that you want to see representing your values and your beliefs in a seat. And
Right.
it's sad. We've been able to do a lot when it comes to expanding the way in which people are eligible to vote.
Yep.
And we've seen some of those numbers increase when it comes to that. But it really is a challenge.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are disenfranchised with the entire system. And I can understand that. There are things that are out there that people feel like, their specific group or their specific class has been left out and not highly thought upon by government. I mean,
Right.
I can tell you that that's not true with me or in a lot of circumstances in Massachusetts.
Right.
But you have that. You have people that feel that their vote doesn't matter, and
Right.
it really does. And
It does.
especially when you look at the current presidential maps that have been out there for the last two, and probably in this being the third consecutive presidential election. You can even date it back to 2020.
Yep.
2000, when the Gore Bush
Yep.
came down to a couple thousand votes, really
Yeah.
realistically a couple hundred votes after the
So
courts
your-
and everything.
Your vote does matter.
Your vote absolutely matters, and
Right.
it matters even more and more when you look at some of these elections that we've seen where state reps or state senators have won by a handful of votes,
I know.
and that's
Yeah.
your representation. That's who you want your voice to be, because the way in which we've set up this representative government in Massachusetts is you have 200 people that represent the 7 million people in Massachusetts that go to Beacon Hill and they talk about the budget and all the priorities and all the issues and the challenges that we face. And you want the person that you're sending up there, the same way when I wrote for state representative, you want your state representative, your state senator, to share your passion, to share your beliefs. You don't have to focus on government or news or what's happening on Beacon Hill every day, but you want somebody to go up there and take a pragmatic approach and
Right.
just want to do what's best for the community. And I
Right.
feel like our office and myself and my voting record has done that. That I think about the community every single day,
Yep.
and every single time that I cast a vote, I think about who this is going to impact, hopefully positively,
Right.
and how much change this is going to make in the right direction for the South Shore.
Okay, and speaking of how many people you represent, your district has Cohasset, Duxbury, Hingham, Hull, Marshfield, Norwell, Situate, and Weymouth. Whew. Each of those towns have their own set of successes and problems and issues. And how do you figure out what you're going to do for the collective group versus what you do for each individual town?
Yeah, I love the South Shore. I think the South Shore, and I'm obviously biased, is the best part of the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
I agree.
And all of those towns do. They all have their own unique circumstances that we try and help them with. And the best way I'm able to do that is really just going out at such a frequent level in the district. We meet with the select board every year. We meet with the school committee every year. We're at events probably in at least half, if not more, of those towns every single week. We talk to the people who are running the community-based social service organizations. We try and see what the need is. And all of these constituents, have reached out to us at one point in time where they have something that's going on, whether it be a pothole on the street, navigating unemployment, or something as serious as trying to find a place to sleep that night, that they know that they can reach out to our office too. And I think that combined, we have a lot of shared interests when it comes to our proximity to the water,
Yep.
when it comes to a lot of the things that people care about. But each town definitely has something special about it. And I think that the collective thing that's special about the South Shore is community of itself. People who step up and go above and beyond. We see stuff and we invite people up to the State House all the time who have given 90 pounds of food to the Weymouth Food Pantry, who have started a nonprofit organization to go above and beyond to address an issue that government wasn't addressing and that
Yeah.
other people weren't. I mean,
Yeah.
the remarkable people that we come across is countless. And that is what I think the collective tie and bond is with the South Shore, is that you have all these people who want to make a difference. And the South Shore is a place that's willing to invest in those people to make that difference.
Oh, I totally agree. How do you proactively get information about what you're doing out into your communities? I know people can always call you. You're very accessible. But how do you get your information out so people on a constant basis know what's going on?
Well, we love shows like this. This is great to be able to just broadcast in person, where we're what we're doing,
Yep.
what we want to see, what's been going on, and things of that nature. One of the biggest tragedies, in my opinion, has been the decline and really downfall of local newspapers. We only have 2 local newspapers left, the Hull Times and the Duxbury Clipper. Of all the 8 communities, when I came in 8 years ago, all 8 of them were still running.
Sure.
And it's really sad because that was just such a great outlet to get, hey, there's a community meeting going on this issue, or this person did this remarkable thing, let's
Right.
write a story about them and take a picture of them getting a citation or doing something. But right now we have a very robust social media. We have over almost 9,500 followers on our Facebook page. We have
Good for you.
a couple thousand on our Twitter and
Yeah.
Instagram, and that's really the way in which we try and get news out. We also still, even election years and non-election years, we go by different neighborhoods and we knock on doors and we provide newsletters that we
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
And we go to the senior centers in every single one of our communities at least once a month to talk with them if there's any concerns that anyone has, and to just be helpful in any way we can when they have different lunches or ice
Yeah,
cream socials
right,
and things like that.
right.
But we try really hard to get news out there because there's a lot of really positive things happening
Yep.
on the South Shore, and there's a lot of things that people are concerned about that are happening up on Beacon Hill, and we want to be there and we want to be transparent and we want to let them know, how to decipher what's real and what's not, and how to go about how they can make their voice be heard the
Right.
best.
And you're listening.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
always.
Yeah. Your legislative priorities included serving and advocating for those with developmental and intellectual disabilities. You've done a lot with that. Can you speak to that, especially your bill, the bills that you've been involved with that help with that?
Yeah, this has been something that has been a true passion of mine. This is probably my top statewide policy subject matter that we've been able to tackle over the past 8 years. And this has really come to me just because of how remarkable the people here on the South Shore are, the people who have stepped up. I've met groups of mothers who back in the 1950s and 1960s led the charge for deinstitutionalization of individuals who had Down syndrome.
Yeah.
And they stood up because they had a child with Down syndrome and said, no, the state's going to take care of our child. They're not just going to put them in an institution and treat them that way. They're going to be a part of our community. They're going to be integrated. They're going to have jobs. They're going to go to school. They're going to do all these things. And to be able to still be able to talk to some of these women who have led that charge and then know that that came from the South Shore, and then see all the work that groups like Friendship Home and Road to Responsibility and Arc of the South Shore are doing, you can't help but be inspired, really,
Right.
to try and join their mission. And 8 years ago, we made it a huge priority to make sure that we gave a voice to a lot of people who don't have them in the intellectual and developmental disability space. And we've worked with these organizations. We provided earmarks for these organizations to expand their reach and their mission. And we've been able to pass meaningful legislation that, in my opinion, is going to provide extra layers of protections for individuals with disabilities. Our highlight's been Dana's Law, which we worked on with Paul and Ann Joyce. They came to my office in that 2016 period of time that I talked about. They came right in the middle of two of those elections, and they showed me a nanny cam that Ann had put in her son Dana, who has Angelman syndrome, who is nonverbal, in his residential facility that he lived in Braintree. And it showed him being abused by two individuals. And they had burden of proof, and these two individuals were fired, and charges were filed against them. But because the way in which the system worked at that point in time, without a criminal conviction, those two individuals could go and work for another provider.
Right, right.
And one of those individuals went and applied for a job, and when Ann had Dana, she was a nurse by trade, and she decided to go into the healthcare space servicing individuals with disabilities. And one of those individuals applied to work for the company that she worked for. And had it not been for her and the company being well aware of what happened to Dana, they probably would have hired that individual just because of the huge human resource drain that we have in social services.
Right.
And so they obviously stopped that, and then Dana came to and then Dana, Ann, and Paul came to the office and said, "How is this happening? Why is this allowed? How can we stop it? How can we make sure what happened to Dana never happens again?" And we worked 4 years on a bill, and we got it signed by former Governor Baker that added an extra layer of protection where there's now a registry of any individual, where there's a burden of proof that they abused somebody with an intellectual and developmental disability, and they are barred and restricted from ever working in human services again.
Good for you. Excellent, excellent. Ensuring domestic abuse prevention across the state. That's another S1093.
Yeah, so another one of the issues, and it really started to become more and more of one during COVID, was our domestic abuse laws in Massachusetts. And there's a lot of things that we need to do to update our laws. Some of them are as outdated as 40 and 50 years they've gone without something that has been meaningful to change.
Right.
And one of the things we did was coercive control, that individuals may not be physically abusing an individual, but they may be using something to hang over their head to continue to control and to verbally abuse and manipulate individuals. And so coercive control has been something that we've been working on for 6 years. And this past year, the governor signed it into law. And so we passed that. Coercive control is now illegal in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and has penalties behind it. And we want to continue to do more in this space. We have constituents who have reached out to us where they have been a domestic abuse survivor,
Right.
and their perpetrator had an ankle bracelet, a GPS monitoring bracelet placed on them to be used to make sure that they're not in any proximity and that they're abiding by the restraining orders that have been placed on them. And they cut these bracelets off, and right now it's a misdemeanor and not a felony, and we believe that it should be a felony in Massachusetts. And we're one of the few states that don't do that.
Okay.
And in the bill that the governor signed coercive control in, it was actually the revenge porn bill that we were able to get it in.
Yep.
And in that, Massachusetts was the 49th state to do that. So we're behind when it comes to protecting women in particular from situations that they are being taken advantage of,
Right.
and in the worst cases that they're being abused in.
Right.
And we need to do a lot more in Massachusetts to make sure that there are better protections in place, that we look at all the other 49 states and see what they're doing and update our laws accordingly, because we can't be the 49th state when it
Right.
comes to protecting people from abuse.
Absolutely. And the other group that you defend is animals.
Yeah.
And so few people talk about that. Briefly talk about your ensuring domestic abuse, strides to ensure that animals are protected against abuse.
Well, we love animals. We actually just posted something the other day for National Dog Day. I think it was
Yeah,
yesterday,
yeah,
of
yeah.
the 4 dogs that members of my team have.
Yeah.
And we've been doing really good. Massachusetts is really good when it comes to animal protections. And what we want to do is, there's one outlet left when it comes to puppy mills. People have heard about these puppy mills. They're basically major breeding facilities down south that treat animals inhumanely and then ship them across the country to be sold. These animals routinely have a lot of problems with them. And what we want to do is shut off the one last source they have in Massachusetts, which is the pet stores.
Right.
When you go into a retail pet store and you go to a shopping mall and you see pets in the little cages or little glass behind little glass, that's the last source they have.
Right.
And they're able to do that because their retail store, they abide by the USDA standards, not the Massachusetts standards.
Okay.
So they're able to source these puppies from puppy mills. And what we're saying is, let's allow the current businesses that exist to continue to exist, but let's not license or allow another pet shop to exist in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Great.
I think that it's a very fair bill.
Yep.
It's supported by all the statewide animal organizations, and there's plenty other ways to get a dog.
Absolutely.
You can get it adopted.
Yep.
You can go to a reputable breeder, but it's time in 2024 for us to be past going to a mall and buying a dog, knowing that dog has come from a horrible condition. I mean, when the USDA standards don't require vocalization, they don't require any transportation as far as guidance or guidelines. The dog can be bred as many times as they want. It's really inhumane, and I think that people, especially in the South Shore, these dogs and their cats become part of their lives, become part of their families, and the last thing you'd want to know is that new part of your family
Was
abused in
Absolutely.
its upbringing.
Yeah. Promoting civics and engagement among young people.
Yeah. So this is a good one.
I love this one.
Yeah, and a lot of people, when it comes to voting now, voting's one of those hotbed issues that we talked about. One of those things that you need more people engaged, and I think that we also need to get a structure on how voting goes. But the tricky part of this is, you have individuals who will be turning 18 by the time that a presidential election happens.
Right.
But they're not 18 when the primary happens, the
Not
presidential
September,
primary.
but they are in November. Right?
Yeah, or even in March when
Yep.
Super Tuesday hits and a
Yep.
presidential primary comes. So what we're saying is, if they're going to be 18 by the time in which the general election is,
Yep.
they should be eligible to vote for who they want to see the Republicans or the Democrats nominate as
Yep.
their candidate for President of the United States of America. I think that it's very simple that, if you don't have the opportunity to vote in that Super Tuesday primary, you really don't have your full say on who you want your candidate to be.
Right.
And I think it's important that people are able to do that. And at the end of the day, this isn't, lowering the voting age. This is just giving opportunity for people who are eligible to vote to have a say in who that candidate's going to be. I think it makes perfect sense. This actually came to us from Sam Bevins, who is a Hingham resident. She came up to our office when she was in high school and said, hey, look, my birthday falls after the primary. I won't be able to do that. I'll be able to vote in the regular state primary and the regular general, but not in the presidential primary. And I thought it made a great point. If we're looking for more young people to vote and we're looking for ways in which to make it more interesting, I think that's the way to do it.
The last one, quickly, financial literacy bill.
Yes. So I think that financial literacy is huge. And we in Massachusetts have been making strides. So this has been something, again, that I've been working on for a number of years, and we've been able to make some significant investments. 2 years ago, we were able to secure about $250,000 to have a summit at Bridgewater State University, where we brought teachers from across the state to learn about certain methods of financial literacy through this company, Next Gen Personal Finance, who is run by a Silicon Valley entrepreneur. It's all free of charge, and his goal, his philanthropic goal, is to have all 50 states require financial literacy inside of schools.
Absolutely.
And so we had this teacher summit, and it was it was great. We had almost 100 teachers come through, and
but they loved it.
They did, and it was 2 days. It was professional enrichment and development. The teachers were provided a stipend for it, and what we wanted in return as a state was to get them to incorporate financial literacy in their curriculum prior to us having it mandated. We need to have a mandate. Right now, some schools are doing it, some schools aren't. There's so much cool technology in this space too, where we've had a company called Stickball, and they have a metaverse where kids can go around in this metaverse and they can open a bank account and literally have all the forms there, and then have a virtual job and get paid for it. And what they do is they want kids to start using this in kindergarten with just different tools. And there's AI based in it, where the AI actually has the reading level comprehension of the student, and so they can tailor the reading level to things that they believe that the student would understand. And then it's all tailored for specific grades, and to basically get to the point in time from kindergarten to 18 that you're doing simple things like what a penny is and what a nickel is and what that means, all the way
spending, priorities,
all the way up to what's this going to, how much money is this college going to cost me? How much, what's the interest rates? How to buy a car? All these different things. Then at 18, this metaverse basically turns into a real world that you have for the rest of your life, and you have this tool that's been given to you that you've been trained on for all of these years. So financial literacy is incredibly important to me. We've mandated civics education, which I think is incredibly important, genocide education. We've mandated a lot of things, but the next logical thing that we should mandate is financial literacy. All of the numbers and all of the statistics are staggering as far as how indebted our youth is, and how much of a spending block they're going to be, and how much they're going to matter and continue to matter to our economy. And so being able to have them know what investments are, have them know how to plan for the future, have them know what their budgets are, I think is incredibly important and something that we want to get done.
And it makes them understand government better, it makes them understand business better, it makes them understand their own lives better.
Absolutely.
So it's
win-win. Tied to everything. And financial health is tied to everything, really everything.
Absolutely. There's two other things you're really involved in. We have about 6 minutes left. So maternal health and the HERO Act were accomplishments this session. Want to give one sentence on what either of those were about?
Sure. So the HERO Act is an update. Massachusetts typically has the best veteran benefits. We go head to head with Virginia every year on who has the best. This was another update. Some key points of it: we upped the annuity from $2,000 to $2,500. We provide a lot more incentives and a lot more access and a lot more resources to individuals with it's throughout the HERO Act, especially those suffering with mental illness and PTSD.
Okay, for veterans. And the maternal health?
The maternal health bill is a wide-reaching bill, and this is to really provide equity across the board for expecting mothers and then new families. And one of the real highlights of this, and something that we've heard from a lot of people on the South Shore, is a large investment and a greater access to resources when it comes to postpartum depression.
Great. And that's another thing that's not worked on a lot and talked about a lot.
I agree.
So your local earmarks, you secured quite a few in the 2025 budget. The Arc of the South Shore, Raising Hearts, the SAIL program, JPH Ferry Hill, Ralph Talbot School Playground, the Hingham Dock Project. What do they have in common, and why'd you do them, and how easy or difficult was it to get them?
Well, every year we seek out from our communities, whether it be organically that we go to a specific event and we run into something that people are fundraising for,
Yep.
or it's an organization that we've seen, on social media who's really doing really well. And what we want to do is we want to invest in their mission, and we want to invest in what they're doing. All of those organizations are incredible. Raising Hearts, I'll pinpoint. Candace, who runs Raising Hearts, came to us. She's a nurse, and she has 2 autistic children, and she said that navigating the path with 2 autistic children on the South Shore, there wasn't a good resource center or a good place that she could go and get information or be with other moms who have autistic children.
Yep.
And so what she wanted to do was she wanted to kind of reimagine what an autism resource center would look like.
Right.
And she's created one in Hanover. It's unbelievable. Right. And we were able to invest in Raising Hearts twice now. And I believe that they have the blueprint for what's going to be what autism resource centers are moving forward. Autism, the number of individual diagnoses have continued to rise.
Right.
And the government in general, both state and federal, have been late in responding to this. And so it's really become incumbent upon families to
Right.
be able to say, here's the things that weren't there when our kids were little, and here are the things that are needed. Here's the resources that are needed. Here's the compassion. Here's the understanding amongst peers. Here's
Right.
all of these things that are wrapped together, and they're done from lived experiences. And I can't be more proud of what Raising Hearts is doing, and all those organizations. JPH Ferry Hill is providing a lot of resources for individuals, specifically women who are going through very challenging times, and specifically towards mental health. When you look at the SAIL program, they're looking to create housing for individuals with disabilities. The DOC project's going to increase wellness in Hingham.
That's in Hingham High School, right?
It is, yeah.
So can you just go really briefly, what is the Hingham Dock Project?
So it's it's basically a brand new facility that they're going to build that's going to increase the wellness and health of all the students. It's going to be available for all of them. I would say it would be similar to if you go to college and you play college athletics. There's sort of a weight room and a training facility,
Sure.
and all. They're building that now at a high school. And there's been a lot of philanthropy that's been involved in that. A lot of small dollars, a lot of big donors. New Balance is getting the naming rights for it. So it's going to be,
Great.
in my opinion, something that is going to be just a huge benefit to student athletes, but as well as just every
Everybody.
single student
Sure.
and the community as a whole.
Yeah.
And so that's what we like to do. We like to look at these projects, see what's going on, see these organizations, and then say, we want them to know that the state supports their mission, and we want them to know that we support their mission, and we're going to do as much as we can to provide those investments to make sure that the South Shore has those resources available to them.
That's great. So earmarks are not only things that people come to you to ask for, but you recognize things in the community and support them.
Yeah.
In your position as state senator, my last question is, what do you find most disappointing?
The most disappointing things is nothing in the district. I love the district. I love everybody here. I love the job. I love the team that we have in place. A couple of them are in the studio here. The most disappointing thing is how long it takes to get things done. We talked about Dana's Law, and you see a deficiency inside of our laws, and you see it being abused, and you want to change it. And rightfully so. A lot of these things you have to, bring coalitions and build coalitions, I should say, and bring people in and talk to people who have concerns with it. And all that's the natural course of getting, an idea to a bill, to a law, to the governor's desk for their signature.
Right.
But it takes a long time, and I think they're too long. And I think that there are a lot of things out there that people see deficiencies in, and that government can work better. And I think the government can work better by working faster. And I would say that my biggest disappointment is some of these bills we've filed, 2, 4, 6 years that are still lingering, the things that we haven't been able to pass yet. We want to see them done because we know the difference and the impact in a positive way that they're going to make to people's lives. And in some instances, I think that some of these things are going to save lives.
Right.
So things like financial literacy, things like some of the bills that we have to protect individuals with disabilities.
Yep.
The vetting's done, the coalitions are built, let's get the bill
Let's do it.
passed.
So maybe that can be one of your big initiatives moving forward, is getting bills passed faster.
I hope so. I talk with it all the time with my colleagues.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
It would. And we work
all
in
your colleagues agree with you.
We work on a very bipartisan basis.
Yeah.
We work together. Some of my closest friends are Democrats on the other side of the aisle, and I think that We have a lot of shared values,
Yeah.
we have a lot of shared beliefs, and we have a lot of shared priorities, and one of them is let's get things done
right.
moving faster.
Excellent. Patrick O'Connor, Senator, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. This has been great. Let's do it
Okay.
again.
Thanks.